Hello everybody, my name is Tommy and welcome to Aero Workshop. There comes times when you need to cut a hole, say in the bottom of a kitchen cabinet, to allow access to a socket or a cut-off valve for the water, or in the top of a desk for cables, etc. But you don't want to be left with an unsightly hole in the bottom of your cabinet or your desktop. So in this video I'm going to show you how I make recessed access point covers using a template and my router. Okay, we will start off first with the setup of the router. Now for this I have the router set up with a 6mm cutting bit and a 30mm guide bush, and that gives me an offset cut of 12mm between the outside of the guide bush and the cutting edge of the bit. Now this 12mm is what I find works for me, because I want to end up, as you'll see, with a 6mm overlap between the cutout and the insert that I'm going to put into the cutout. And this setup here works for me every time. Moving on now to the template, and now you can use whatever template you want, whatever shape you want. This is just a circle that was cut using my circle cutting jig on the router. And then I have this one, which again was used by cutting two circles with the circle cutting jig and just joining those with two straight cuts. Now this is the preferred one that I normally use in the bottom of cabinets. So this is the one I'm going to use for this demonstration. The main thing to keep in mind with your template when you're making your template is, again, your 12mm offset. So if you want the hole 100mm wide, you need to make the cutout in your template 124mm wide to allow for the 12mm offset on each side when you run the router around with the guide bush. So I'm going to set this up now and we'll do the first cut. Okay, for this I'm just going to use some oak veneered MDF, and I have a sacrificial piece on the bench that if the router goes into it doesn't matter. And I normally, if I can at all, I would work from the back of the piece, and that means, because this won't be seen, that allows you to screw the template and all in place and you won't have holes. But if you can't do that, you can always work from the face side and attach your template using some double-sided tape. But I'm going to work from the back. So I'm just going to clamp that piece in place. And now I'm just going to place the template where I need it. And like I said, because this is from the back, I'm just going to attach that with a couple of screws. Now, because I'm going to be cutting the whole way through this, and it's going to leave a piece in the middle that's going to be loose and want to catch in the cutter, like I said, you could also use some double-sided tape underneath, but because this piece I want it for the next process anyway, I'm going to just attach that with two screws as well, and I can use the screws to attach it the next time. And just make sure that if you do screw that, you don't put the screws someplace where the cutter can hit it. And I'm also going to add, using some double-sided tape, a piece of offcut the same thickness as the template. And I'm just going to put that in the center of the piece like that. And what that'll do is it will support the router and stop the router wanting to kick in to the template, into the void. So that'll just keep the router running perfectly true as I router out around the template. Now, when it comes to the router again, it's just a case of finding the plunge depth of the surface of the piece of MDF, like that, and then use an offcut of the same thickness and use that to set your plunge depth on the router. So that means you'll just barely go through and you won't be plunging way deeper than you need to. So with that done, now it's just a case of routering this out and running the router in a clockwise direction to keep the router up tight to the template. Okay, with that now done, it's just a case of remove the template. And now you have one perfectly cut hole in your cabinet base or your desktop. So the next thing I want to do is actually make the insert to go into that hole, and to do that I am going to be using the offcut that came out of the hole. So I just remove my little packer piece and unscrew that like so. So like I said, I'm going to be using this now, and I'm going to run the router on the outside edge of this using the very same setup as what I did for the hole, and that will give me an insert that will be 6 millimeters all around, bigger than the hole I have just cut. Now, to do this, I'm just going to use, for contrast, just some maple veneered MDF, and I've put some double-sided tape where the cutout is going to be, because I don't want that to move when I've cut it. And again, I'm going to be working from the back, so I'm just going to place that on the board like that. I'm going to clamp that in place. Like that. And I'm going to screw this in the same orientation as I had it. So in other words, the back is going to be facing up, and I'm just going to roughly center that on the piece and screw that in place. Like that. And again, I am going to add some filler pieces just to make sure that the router have a level surface to sit on. So again, just some offcuts and some double-sided tape. Like that. And now it's just a case of repeating what I've already done, only this way I'll be running in an anti-clockwise direction to keep the router in against the template. So now, once I remove the clamps, and the top template, I am now left with an insert that is 6mm bigger all around compared to the hole. So the next thing I need to do is to just add a rebate to the top edge of the cutout and to the bottom edge of the insert so that one sits in to the other one. And to do that, I'm going to just use my little homemade router table. Okay, so now I'm set up. I have a 32mm rebating bit set up, and I have added a 20mm guide bearing. So that will leave me with a 6mm rebate. And I have set the height to be half the thickness of the material. So now it's just a case of, like I said, rebate the top of the cutout and the bottom of the insert. So now to the important question is, does it fit? And as you can see, it fits perfectly and is dead flush as well. Okay, so hopefully you can see how simple it is to make some recessed access point covers that'll look well in any woodworking project that you might decide to make. And like I said, you can make them in any shape that you feel like, and you can also do like I've done in this, just put a different wood in to make a feature of it if you wish. So that's where I'm going to leave it for this video. So as usual, if you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already done so, maybe you consider subscribing to the channel and try and keep the channel growing. So all that's left for me to say is thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Good luck.